up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Mates. After a long break, or kind of a long break, we're finally back because we have less than a month until NBA basketball starts up again.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I'm Matthew.
Excited.
I'm joined by the OG debate mate, Nathan Poplin.
What's good, everybody?
And we have a fun video for you today, and we're going to have a lot of fun videos for you in the future because when you get to about a month out from the season, it's prediction time.
Oh, yeah.
Playoffs,
100%.
Awards,
Basically,
trades, anything
you can predict is on the table at this point, even all the way to the All-Star weekend, who's going to make All-Star teams.
Right.
So it's an exciting time.
So it's one of the most exciting times to be a content creator with anything to do with basketball, with NBA. And we got a fun video to kick off the prediction season here. And that's all NBA teams, third through first team all NBA, 15 players, a center, 2 forwards, and 2 guards make up each team. East and West doesn't matter for this, as I'm sure you guys already know. So, yeah, of course, this isn't top 15 players or anything like that. We did our top 25 video a while ago. Check that out if you haven't already. It was a great video. Had some good debate in that one of the best videos we've ever put out. But Nate and I talked before. I'm going to start on 13. He's going to go for a second. We'll go back and forth a bit. But before I get into that, make sure to follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe so you can see all those fun videos I was referencing.
Yeah, because you're really not going to want to miss any of these certified bangers we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll get started on my third team, and I'll go in order of how big of a lock I think they are to make this team.
That's fair.
My first lock to make third team All-NBA, and this is going to be controversial, probably, is LeBron James.
Yeah, it's a little controversial.
The only reason I think he'll make third team is the same reason he made third team this year, just lack of game play. He's going to be 37. He's got Westbrook on his team now and Anthony Davis. I think Davis will play a little bit better. I think they'll be able to carry a little bit more of the slack in the regular season. I just don't think he's going to be required to do as much, and they're definitely gearing up towards the playoffs with this veteran-heavy roster. It's not a roster of guys that you're going to expect to go out there and play 82 games at full force every night. Just not the age where any of these players are going to be capable to do that and then also win 16 games in the postseason. So I think LeBron still makes third team. He'll have the stats. He just won't have the games, in my opinion. And I still think he's one of the best 5 players in the NBA, probably. So I'm not trying to knock him at all. He's still one of the best. But just for all NBA, you got to take into consideration games played. I don't think he'll make it there. But 26, 8, and 8, probably this year again. It's kind of just what he does. So I have LeBron there. My second lock is going to be Anthony Davis. Again, just games played. He and LeBron are both a little injury prone now, especially Anthony Davis. Davis, I think, will have a bounce back season, some great stats, probably have – well, I mean, it couldn't be a stretch to also put him in the MVP discussion later on in the year. But as of now, obviously, putting him on third team, I don't think he'll be there. But 27, 7, something around – or 27, 10, and 5, something like that isn't out of the question for him, I don't think. I see him having a good year, but just games played, the only thing holding him back. Behind him, I have Trae Young. After what I saw from him in the playoffs and saw what he did with the Nate McMillan system, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Phenomenal offensive player. Hawks are going to be there in the playoff contention, so he's definitely getting the spot. After that, I got Devin Booker. I saw what he did in the finals. He's an outstanding offensive player, one of the best young weapons in the league. I think last year was kind of Chris Paul's swan song for all-star appearances, all-NBA, stuff like that. I think now we're going to kind of point to Devin Booker for the Suns' success, especially media-wise. So I have him. And then as my center on my third all-NBA team, I have Bam Adebayo. After last season, Bam's due for a big breakout year. So I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to play really well. Kyle Lowry is going to push him in the regular season, I think. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him. I think he responds, and if he's going to be competing for a Defensive Player of the Year spot again, which he probably will be, numbers are there. I think he has a good chance to make a third-team All-NBA. And center position is pretty weak.
Hey, all fairly good points. I think LeBron's a little low, but other than that, I like it. I do think it's crazy the only person we have the same on our third team is Trae Young. Like, all difference, but that's what makes for interesting videos is the disagreement, 2 people with 2 completely different opinions. So I'm going to start with my third team. First, I'm just going to go guard down the center, I guess, how I want to do mine. As I said, we both have Trae Young. Trae Young proved that he's one of the top 5 point guards in the league last year with this new Nate McMillan system. They had a much deeper run in the playoffs, and I thought, heck, I didn't even think they were going to make the playoffs at the start of the season.
Right.
And they knocked out the Knicks in the first round, and they had a really sensational playoff series. So I think he speaks for himself as one of the – he's not the next Steph Curry, but he's still one of the best shooters and one of the best offensive players in this league. I don't know how many people are going to feel about this. I don't feel it's controversial, but my shooting guard, my second place, I have Zach LaVine. He's been putting up better numbers every single year, and unfortunately, it's kind of been on a very mediocre Bulls team that's not going far. But all of a sudden, after having one of the best, if not the best, off seasons coming into this year, he has pieces around him to make playoff push. By the way, the Bulls don't make the playoffs. I'm going to be very disappointed. But I think he is going to step up his game even further. I don't even think he's hit his ceiling. I don't think he's hit a plateau or anything. So I think he's going to average better numbers. He's going to be the force on this Bulls team, regardless of all the new pieces. And I think he leads them to a playoff spot, and I think he makes an all-NBA team. My next one, my small forward, I actually have Jason Tatum. He's also been – I'm not biased, I promise, but he's also been getting better every single year, and he's the centerpiece and focal point of the Celtics offense. And, he's got nice pieces around him. Some people believe the Celtics have gotten worse. I don't believe that. I think Dennis Schroeder and other pieces have been – and Juancho Hernangomez, the GOAT, have been very nice additions, and I think will be probably similar positioning to where we were last year, if not slightly better. But this kid's sensational. Top 15 player easily, in my opinion, on the back half of the top 15, but top 15 easily. One of the most versatile, versatile forwards in the game right now. So I think he's a lot. Anthony Davis, I do actually have. Now I'm looking at it instead. I did have Jimmy Butler, but I think I totally forgot about Anthony Davis. I love you, Anthony. I'm sorry. I'm going to switch it to Anthony Davis. I think he's going to have a sensational year. Man's coming off. Getting married,
Right.
Oh, congrats to him, by the way.
Showed off the pipes on
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah. And also got in incredible shape, if you've seen. I don't know if you've seen how incredible shape he's got.
Really?
He looks pretty dang good. He looks like he's toned up quite a bit.
Right.
And so that, I think, is going to help him in many ways. And I think it's time for him to come back, and all these doubters saying he's not as good as he was. I think he's going to make at least one of these All-NBA teams for a second. Yeah, he can make first, he can make second, he can make third.
There is no reason why he shouldn't be the best player in the NBA.
I mean, he
one
of the best.
Talent, and he has the
I
size.
think, personally, he's the third best power forward in the league behind Giannis, and I'm going to put KD at power forward because he plays power forward. Behind them, he's I think, a consensus, probably a top 3 power forward right behind those two. So, I have it. And then this one is probably my controversial one. This is a guy that I think is going to have an amazing comeback season, because this guy at one point a couple years ago we were talking as a top 3 center in the game, and I think that's Karl Anthony Towns. I think the Timberwolves will be better this year. I think it's going to be because of him. I think he's poised to come back and silence all these people. I'm sure he's upset that he's not in the conversation for like top 3 to top 5 center anymore. Like I think skill wise he's better than Rudy Gobert, and I think he's going to showcase it this season and make the All-NBA third team.
I just am not a big believer in Cat anymore.
I am. I think he's still got it. I think he's had a rough couple years, but I think he'll get back.
He just hasn't shown the ability to be a winner, and he hasn't shown the ability to be the franchise guy we all thought he would be. The only time he's made the playoffs is with Jimmy on his team, and every year it starts to look like Jimmy was more and more right about
That's
Cat
fair.
Not being willing to put in the work.
That's fair, but never say never. It only takes one little spark of motivation to all of a sudden change
everything. If that
everything
wasn't the spark, then what will be the spark? I mean, he hasn't shown any.
Who knows?
He hasn't shown any improvement on defense whatsoever. He is clearly there's something going on in the Timberwolves organization where he and upper management are not seeing eye to eye.
Mm-hmm.
After he tweeted WTF, which we all know what that means, after they fired President Gerson Rosas, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. But clearly there's something going on there as well. And then they're going to have probably discussion throughout the whole season of trades, whether it's Ben Simmons, who's on the trade block and won't even talk with people from Philadelphia, or whether it's trading
that's a pretty bad situation.
D'Angelo
right
Russell
there.
or whatever. There's just a lot of stuff always going on with the Timberwolves organization. If it's not one thing, like you got Philadelphia, sometimes you got to hunt out stories because they're a big market. Minnesota stories just kind of come out of nowhere.
You know, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the point where he steps up is if maybe at some point he's on a different franchise. Maybe it is. Maybe it's Minnesota that's holding him back, or it's himself. We don't really know. But I don't know. I threw it out there. I think he's going to have at least a much better season than he did last year. I think he's going to get back at least close to where he was, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
I mean,
offensively,
he's a monster.
No doubt.
He's a monster. Yes, defensively, he there's a lot of work left to do. But
Right.
Who's to say he won't start? Who's to say he hasn't already started? We haven't heard much about it, but it doesn't mean something's not going on behind the scenes.
Cat, in my mind, has become one of the most forgettable players in the NBA.
He went from being harsh words.
He went from being one of the young studs in the league. Like we were talking about, not sponsored by Bang Energy yet.
It's not even Bang.
Is it not?
No, it's Red Bull.
Not sponsored by Red Bull yet, but
shout us out, Red Bull.
Yeah.
I love your stuff. It gives me wings.
It does. It gives us all wings. But anyways, Cat has become one of the most forgettable players, I think. Just one, he's buried in Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't gotten any better since he's been there, except for 1 year with Jimmy Butler. Minnesota is never on national TV, so easy to forget about them. They're never contending for a playoff spot, again, except for that 1 year. They're just, and he hasn't really improved. He's kind of just been on this plateau since his first couple of seasons in the league, not getting any better at defense. Offense is still kind of the same. And maybe if we hadn't put such high expectations on him, like this is going to be a top 5 player, in a couple of years it's going to be one of the best players in the league, we wouldn't have as much not hate, but hate towards him.
Mm-hmm.
But we had these such high expectations, and he hasn't.
You mean you have hate towards him?
A little bit.
So much
but we
hate.
had such high expectations. He was supposed to be one of the top 10 players at this point in the NBA. That was the trajectory.
I mean, he was on pace. Yeah.
And now he's down here, out of the top 25.
I don't know. I still have him lower top 25, but
he didn't in the video.
But you also have Anthony Davis super low in the video, so let's not talk.
All right, you ready?
He went from 19 to all NBA third team. I don't want to hear
it. Hey, you ready to move on to
Yeah, I'm ready. So I'll start on my second team. First, my point guard. I think it's pretty self-explanatory to me. Who's the second best point guard in the league is Dame Dolla. For so many years, no one gave him the respect of putting him in all-star games and all-NBA teams, and now all of a sudden that's changed, and he's right where he rightfully belongs. I have not much else to say. One of the best point guards, one of the best players to watch in the NBA, period, over there in Portland. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Dame Dolla as All-NBA second team. My second spot is very similar. I believe he was on the second team or third team last year. Is another point guard at CP3. I still think that Suns team is – you didn't like that, did you?
I'm not a huge fan.
Oh, you're not a huge fan. Is it because I put him over Devin Booker?
There are a lot of good guards in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I'll leave it at that for now, but there are a lot of good guards in the NBA.
I don't know. I think he's poised to have another great season. I think the Suns haven't lost much, man.
But Chris Paul has got his flowers. Is he going to make it over Devin Booker, one? Over Donovan Mitchell, second team All-NBA last year, or was it second or third? I can't remember. But is he going to make it over Donovan Mitchell, who's probably going to have another great season knowing Donovan Mitchell? I'm going to have to assume you don't have James Harden at all.
No.
Is he going to make it over the triple-double master, aside from Westbrook, James Harden?
But again, see, it's very stats. I'm not as high as James Harden on James Harden as you are, so that's just me, though.
I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of good guards.
Controversy, Matthew. Controversy.
Is he going to make
Respect
it over?
my pick.
Is he going to make it over? The guy that probably will be top 2 or 3 in the league in scoring again, which is Bradley Beal. If Beal has another great 30-plus point per game season, will he make it over Beal?
Yes, I do think so.
Okay.
Personally.
There are just so many good guards. And there's one guard who I'm –
yeah, and he's one of them.
He is. I don't know. I feel like his stats will probably be similar to all of the players we named. He'll be better in assists, but the rest of them will all probably be better in points.
You're probably right. Yeah, but I think the impact will be a lot better.
And what I'm saying is if they are all around the same, then they'll probably say, all right, we'll give the new guy a
if
bump.
CP3 and the Suns make the finals again, does he deserve to be on that second? Would the second team pick make sense?
The second team doesn't have anything to do with playoffs.
I know, but I'm just saying, do you think if he could he make the second team if the Suns are just as good as last year?
I don't think they're going to be as good. But
why do you not think they're going to be as good?
I just think the West has gotten a little bit better, and I don't know. They have a really good roster of guys, but they still don't have I don't know. I just don't see them performing as well as they did last year. I think teams will be expecting it a little bit more. They kind of know the scouting report now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lakers will be better. I think the Mavs are going to take a huge step up. We still have to see what happens with Clay and the Warriors, but I think they'll take a huge step up. The Jazz are somehow always there, so they'll probably be there again. And then there's so many things left to happen in trade
Well, there's
talks.
so much contempt over this one pick I had. Like, you're just so upset.
You remember I called him point fraud in the top 25 video?
Yeah, you're not very high on him. I get it, but
I don't know. I think he made his last All-NBA.
I believe he made this past year. He was either second or third team.
I think but keep going.
Okay, so next is Paul George.
Okay.
I think, and like you pointed out to me with Kawhi Leonard, the timetable, I guess I was reading a little bit on the timetable is not very known right now.
Yeah.
And so with Kawhi out, as we saw in the playoffs, Paul George really stepped up and kind of, to me, outshined his bubble year as playoff P, as everyone was making fun of him. And all of a sudden, he took a huge step up, and he was a big reason for how far the Clippers went. So another pick I don't think needs much explanation. As for the next two, KD, who I think is the best. I don't have him on my first team, even though I do think he's the best player in the league. I think you'd agree with me.
I agree with that.
I think he's the best player in the league, but I do have two players above him in the forward spot that I think are just going to have better years and better impact, even though I do think he's the best player in the league. And then my center is if you know anything and you've watched these videos, you know exactly who I put at center in the second team, and it's Nikola Jokic, as I'm higher on another center more than I am. But you're higher on you're higher on Jokic
I'm
than
higher
I am.
on the one that won MVP last season, for sure.
I'm still higher on one, and I'm sorry that upsets you. Because I know who your center is.
Yeah, because Jokic did more with less.
I still think Embiid is better overall. I think he's going to have better stats, and I think he's going to be better overall. Maybe not necessarily the team, because I do think the Nuggets are pretty much better than the Sixers. I think we could all agree for the most part at that point.
On to my second team, I got Dame at
You're
point.
so upset right now. You just sound so upset.
I got Dame at point for my All-NBA second team.
As you should.
You left him off, and I'm going to explain why I think he should be on second team, and then why
I'm wrong.
Yes. I have James Harden as a guard on my second team, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving is still not vaccinated. New York is a state that will apparently not allow players to play in games if they aren't vaccinated.
So I didn't know that, but that makes sense. As big a market as New York.
If Kyrie Irving is to miss, if he doesn't get vaccinated or gets vaccinated at some point in the middle of the season or whatever, misses like 47 games, because also Oakland has that same rule. So every game in Golden State, which would probably only be one, and then games in New York, that's probably one or two. Then about half games at home. Harden and KD are going to have to play a lot more. I know they don't care about seeding too much, but I also bet they really they played game 7 in Brooklyn, so I don't know what my point was going to be there. But it would have been nice to have that one seed and had to have played Atlanta instead of Milwaukee when they're injured. And they know how deep the East is after that playoff run. They know how deep it's going to be this year with Miami making moves too. So I think they're going to be gunning for that number one seed. In order to do that, you're going to have your best players playing whenever they can, which is why I think Harden plays a lot more than he did last season. And obviously the hamstring injury still might be there, and that's still a concern because you want him healthy for the playoffs. But I think they're going to have to let him and KD kind
also,
of go
we know he can have some efficiency problems. That's another thing that especially from three.
But he'll put up monster numbers.
And he will. And
like
I very much respect what you put him there. I just didn't, and I'm not going to get as mad at you as you did for getting mad at me.
Then, as that forward, I'm surprised I have Moby. I have Jason Tatum on my All-NBA second team. He's a monster. He's improved every year, like
he
you
is.
said.
He's my boy. I love him.
And without Kemba, I think he gets the ball in his hands a little bit more. The only real point guard now is Schroeder, so I think Tatum kind of –
Don't you dare knock Peyton Pritchard.
That is true. I think Tatum probably plays a bit of a KD role on this team, LeBron-type role, where he's the main distributor, has the ball in his hands.
Probably will put up very similar numbers, 26, 9, and 5, something around
and then
there,
there's definitely a chance he makes an All-NBA defensive team this year or is in contention. He's really great long defender. Athletic.
He's very, very good two-way player.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
So I think he makes an All-NBA second team. Celtics I don't think will be great this year. I could definitely see them in a play-in game again. I think that's
like I said, maybe a little bit better. We might have a shot at the 6th seed, but like 6 through 8 is probably the move for the Celtics.
Then after him, I got Paul George. We all remember what he did in OKC when he got to kind of play the Batman role, which was third place in MVP voting. So I could see him having a similar year to that. he won't have a player on his roster as good as Westbrook to take away some of the defensive attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think we'll see Indiana, OKC, Paul George come back. And whether he
Oh,
can
Indiana, Paul George.
Indiana, Paul George.
Like we're talking like number 24, Paul George.
We're talking PG 24. Way back in the day. Way back in the day when he was going head to head with LeBron in the Eastern Conference Semis with Roy Hibbert and David.
At this stage in his career, I know he's great, but do you think he's there?
I think he can be. I think he can be for stretches. I don't know if he can for 82 games.
You don't know if he can consistently do it for an entire regular season,
Right,
but he'll have flashes and he'll show.
Yeah,
he'll show moments.
He'll have a couple games where he goes off for 48, 50 points, and everyone's going crazy. But he will also have those stinkers probably where he misses the last second free throw or 3-point shot. That's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen. We all have bad days, especially NBA players.
But I think the highs will outweigh the lows this season. I think the Clippers they're a huge market team in LA. The new multi-billion-dollar stadium is being built. Steve Ballmer's crazy. So the Clippers are always in the media. They're always going to get attention.
You can't hate Steve
can't.
Ballmer, though. He's just so much fun.
And then all eyes will be on what's going on with Kawhi and the Clippers.
Yeah.
With his injury and how they handle that. They'll be under the spotlight a lot, and I think Paul George will perform. And then I got Joel Embiid on my All-NBA second team as the center. Simply because I just don't think he's as good as Nikola Jokic. I don't really have any reason
now, why
to
do you
knock
what is the reason you think Nikola Jokic is better? Is it simply his more playmaking and passing ability, or is it maybe does it have something to do with Joel's? Sometimes he has stretches of where he's injured and he gets hurt.
Well, Joel Embiid's injury, he's very injury prone, which is definitely a concern. But I just see Jokic as he's kind of more like a full team by himself, if that makes any sense. Like, he makes players around him a lot better than I think Embiid does. I think Jokic has done more with less in his career. Jokic has had more playoff success than Embiid in his career. Conference finals against the Lakers and the bubble season. Then this season made it to conference semis without Jamal Murray, beating the Trailblazers. Got swept by the eventual Western Conference champion Suns, though. And then the year before that, the year before the bubble year, made it to the semis again, got beat by the Blazers. But he's just been consistently good, performs in the playoffs at a high level, which I know doesn't have any merit in All-NBA, but just shows the level that he can bring it to, which is a level I don't think we've seen from Embiid yet. Jokic will average probably 9-10 assists. He's going to average near a triple-double. Last season, he shot on point guard, shooting guard efficiency near 50, 40, 90. And he's going to have to do it again this year with Jamal Murray out a lot. Aaron Gordon says this is going to be his best year of basketball, so that would be
It better be for that nice contract.
Oh, yeah, he got a nice payday there. So
he better bring it. He better make it worth it.
And then Embiid obviously brings more to the table defensively than Jokic.
Yes, very much.
But Jokic is an offensively bad defender. It's not to the point.
No, he's not like Cat level.
It's not to the point where I have to drag him down. It's kind of like a neutral thing.
He's just kind of he's a very decent. Like I think that's the perfect word is decent. Like he's not going to hurt you defensively, but he's nothing special.
He's not a defensive.
Like how Embiid's a lockdown. Like Embiid's scary good, and Nikola Jokic. Yeah, I give him the nod in durability, so I completely understand that. Agree to disagree, but we at least agree these are the top two centers in basketball right now.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So now where you put them is up to you. You want to start with your first team?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go with my first team first. At point, you got Luka.
Yeah, makes sense.
Obviously.
Yeah. Not much to say. Luka Doncic is scary good.
The two guards, they're locks. It's Luka and Steph.
One of the few predictions that Ryan Hollins has gotten right by claiming how good this kid, and he deserved that number 1 overall pick that year. And, like, that was one of the few times Ryan Hollins was right. But, boy, was he right about this one.
Luka is insane. This year he might take the crown as the best player in the NBA. I'm just going to throw it out there and see if –
Would I be surprised? Absolutely not.
I mean, he's just
I'd love to see a little more defensively, but other than that, I think he's got a very great game.
Then at forward, got Kevin Durant.
Just skip your other guard?
No, I got Luka and Steph.
Oh, you said Steph? I didn't hear you say so. Okay.
Kevin Durant for obvious reasons. It seems at this point, has basically become the consensus best player in the world, according to Sports Illustrated, ESPN.
Him or who we got it.
Yeah.
Our power forward.
And basically every news media personality there is, Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, whoever, everybody kind of agrees right now. It's Kevin Durant after what he did.
Hell, they were saying that 4 years ago. Like who like that one thing. I think it was First Take with Stephen A. It was who takes over when LeBron is no longer the best player. And we were all saying, for the most part, everybody was saying Kevin Durant.
And now it seems like he's done it.
Yeah, I think he was. I think it was pretty obvious though that when LeBron got too old and he kind of started to regress a little bit, it was going to be Durant because he's that special and he's that good of a player that he was going to fill that role. When LeBron kind of started to regress. So, yeah. So
then in the other forward spot, obviously you got Giannis.
Reigning NBA champion.
Reigning NBA Finals MVP. And then in the center spot, got the Joker.
The Joker.
The MVP, Nikola Jokic.
And that's fair. Like you can't – I think between him and Embiid, you really can't. Where personally, it's just a matter of preference. But, all right, so I'll go. Mine is basically the exact same outside of one player who I don't know how you feel about how high I have him because you have him in your third team. So Steph and Luka are my guards. I think we covered most of just how special. Greatest shooter of all time. He's the first player to have two max $200 million plus contracts, right? I believe.
He's
a
very rich man.
Yeah, he is the Patrick Mahomes of the NBA. Patrick Mahomes has $500 million contract. So and then Luka is not even close to reaching his ceiling or a plateau. I think he's still so young and he's still got so much growing left to do.
Sound like a proud father.
I am. It's good to see. Shout out Luka. He's so good.
Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic. If he continues to play the way that he does for let's say the next 10 years, I want to pose this question to you. Does he overtake and he wins a ring? Does he overtake Dirk as the greatest foreign player in NBA history? I'm just curious what you think.
Well, first, when if we're bringing all of the foreign players into this, we're also bringing in Hakeem.
I mean, that's true.
And we're also bringing in
all right,
10 years down the line,
let me pose European then.
Let's just pose Maverick.
Fine. Is he the greatest Maverick of all time?
Yes. If he wins a ring and plays like this for the next 10 years, if he makes the first All-NBA team next year, he might already be in the discussion. I mean, his ceiling is probably higher
than most players in the NBA. He probably has the highest ceiling of anybody right now.
Dirk is already said, and Dirk is selfless. Seems like a great guy. That Luka is playing at a higher level right now than Dirk has ever played. And I wasn't alive I was alive, but I wasn't watching for Dirk's heyday. I was like 6 years old when he was at his absolute peak winning the championship.
Yeah.
So I can't really say if he's right or wrong about that, but got to see a little bit more playoff success. But other than that, I mean, the playoff success is not his fault. Mm-hmm. He's done everything. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Beverley looked like an All-NBA defender against Devin Booker. In the series before that, he literally was benched because Luka was just making him look like a preschooler out there. Meanwhile, he was making Devin Booker look like rough, like very rough. So, yeah.
I get you. I just thought that was an interesting question to pose.
I have an interesting question back at you.
Give it to me.
What would Klay Thompson have to do to make an All-NBA team? Because he's obviously going to have a big narrative behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance that he makes it over any of these big name guards? What would he have to do to make it over those?
I don't know. I mean, Klay Thompson, if he can return to what he used to be, I mean, he could very well make it over somebody like CP3 and Zach LaVine.
But is what he used to be with how many great young guards have burst into the scene all of a sudden, is what he used to be good enough to make an All-NBA team now?
I do think so. Yeah. Okay. If we see the Klay of old, which I don't know if we will, because I don't know how different, how much this injury's really affected him. He could be a Kevin Durant situation. He comes back from looks completely the same.
Okay, you get a little emotional about
this? No. Yeah, I'm getting so emotional. I'm gonna cry for Klay Thompson. No, but I don't think he has to do much. If there's playoff success and he averages good numbers, like if he averages like next to Steph, like to me 24 and or 25 points a game, and then something like 7-8 assists, you know what I mean? Like I think he's got a good, and there's more success in Golden State. I don't see why he couldn't make a third or a second team. And if he returns back to, because I believe he's a top when he's at his full. his peak. He's not injured. He's full. He's a top 3 two-way player in the league.
For
Like
sure.
he's solid. Like some might even say one. Like him, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, when all healthy, I think, to me, make maybe Jimmy Butler. Maybe some people might argue Jimmy Butler over Paul George. I don't personally, but I mean, I think he's. I don't think it takes a lot, but I just don't know if we're going to see it. I think he could easily make a third team. Do you?
No,
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Just because there are too many really, really good guards. The Warriors would have to really punch above their weight.
Clay would have to do something special, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
to really crack it all NBA.
There's so many really, really good young guards. Devin Booker, Trae Young, Dame, Harden.
Mm-hmm.
If Kyrie does get vaccinated, is able to play, Kyrie is in that mix. Luka and Steph. And then the guys that we aren't even mentioning, Bradley Beal, I threw him out earlier, is probably going to lead the league or be close to leading the league in scoring. What does Westbrook do in his first season?
There's definitely
I mean,
a lot of good guards in this
then
league right
looking down further, you got a little bit of a reach, but in his first full season with the Reigns in OKC, what does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander do? What does Jaylen Brown do to follow up his all-star season at the guard position? What does Jimmy Butler do if we see him at a shooting guard position and could slide him in there, shoehorn him in?
This is all speculation. We're just going to have to see what Clay is.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, like, we don't know. He could be a 20-plus per game scorer, or he could be a shell of his former self. It really just we just don't know, because injuries like that, you can never tell who's going to come back the same and whose career is going to be completely altered.
And who's
a Paul George and who's a Boogie Cousins?
And what happens with Ben Simmons? Does he get traded to another team and all of a sudden
does he end up in a Cavs or Minnesota Timberwolves uniform?
And all of a sudden become an all-NBA level performer?
I mean, it seems like if he does get traded, it seems like from reports that, like, there's going to be some motivation and a fire lit under him.
There better be.
To prove himself. Like, well, yeah, if all this for nothing and then you're basically the same thing you were, a disappointment to me. I'm not high. He's probably like one of my least favorite players in the league. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that. But
I don't think anybody hates you for that. I don't think anybody likes Ben Simmons anymore.
Like, I'm not even mad at what he's doing, like the fight. Like, he is kind of being a little baby. Like, I don't want to see anybody. Don't fly out here. I'm not talking to anybody. Doesn't want to talk to his teammates. Like, I get that you don't want to talk to management, but man doesn't even want to talk to the team. The team was willing to fly out and talk about it, even if nothing came of it. Like, at least sit down and talk with him. Don't just be like, nah, ghost him. Just like, nah, I'm good. Don't come out here. I ain't gonna meet with you. Like, it's not a good look. But I'm just mad because he doesn't seem to want to get better. Inside scoring, like Ben Simmons with a jump shot, a consistent jump shot, is a scary, scary sight for the NBA. But man has no interest, like, whatsoever in taking them. Like a 1% increase in like 3-pointers taken, made like 2 or 3. I want to say, yeah, sure, he's made more than Shaq, but it's like.
But he just needs to watch Giannis and see what Giannis did. And have somebody say to him, or just figure it out himself, if you have those physical gifts, I mean, a little bit shorter, a little bit less long and athletic, but strength probably pretty similar, build pretty similar, athleticism a little similar. If you were just more aggressive, there is no reason you couldn't be close to that.
I mean, your downfall is when you're an NBA player with such potential and you don't even try to evolve.
Situation.
Your hate for Carl.
Well, I mean, he hasn't tried to get
It's
better
just,
at
it
defense.
is a crying shame that Ben Simmons doesn't even want to evolve. The minute you don't want to evolve and you don't want to focus on at least one thing, like that's what they say sometimes. Like this offseason, I'm gonna get better at shooting. This offseason, I'm gonna work on my free throws. Like if you have all this potential, like Ben Simmons is one of the best defensive players in the league. Like, if you have all this potential and you just don't want to evolve your game, if you think that your game is so good that you don't need to keep working on it, you're never going to reach the potential you should have.
It's also not even three-point shooting. It's just aggressiveness in general. Like, Westbrook's not a good three-point shooter, but at least he
takes
drives. Like, Giannis isn't a good three-point
and
shooter.
Westbrook does seem to kind of take some shots in the offseason. It just doesn't seem to be – they don't seem to drop. They'll drop every once in a while, but, like –
Do you also think that it is unfair for us to look at Ben Simmons and only criticize the things he isn't good at? Because he's an all-NBA defender. He's a good passer, good playmaker. Should we just appreciate him for that, like a mini Draymond Green, or
we definitely should, but I will not.
That's fair enough.
He's just rubbed me the wrong way. Plus, he's a Sixer, and like the only Sixer I like is Embiid.
What about Matisse Thybulle?
I mean, Matisse, I guess like
he's everybody's favorite Sixer for those vlogs over the bubble.
I do like Tobias Harris, probably another one.
All right,
I
he's
do
pretty
actually.
funny.
I do like Toby. Oh God, we just went on a tangent about Ben Simmons. Where are we at? All right, my forwards. Well, my power forward is Giannis, and he's gonna have another incredible season. I think again. I mean, I see them at least coming back to the conference finals at the very least. Like I think this team is still very, very good. And I mean, with the addition of Semi Ojeleye, that puts him over the top again, you know.
Right.
Semi Ojeleye and
Boston
George Hill,
Celtics,
you know what I
great.
mean? Like, yeah. So, but my small forward is someone you had on your third team, and that's the King, LeBron James. I think LeBron James, even though he does have Westbrook and AD's back at what appears to be full health and ready to go, I still think he facilitates, and I still think he puts up better numbers than he did last season. And I think he's going to be the driving force behind this team's success at probably winning number 18, which I'm really upset about. But like they're looking too dang good. I think he has a better season than he did, and I think we see the King we saw 2 or 3 years ago. Once again this season, I do believe that the injuries won't affect him as much, I think, this year. I think he'll be fine. I don't know. How do you feel about that he's in my first team over and you have him in your third team? Do you think he's just too old and he's regressed too much to deserve a first team
I don't
nod?
necessarily think he's regressed too much, but last season was his second major injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the groin. Now he's got the ankle. And 3 years in LA, 2 separate seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't think he plays enough games. And I don't think it's worth it for him to play enough games. Because I know I said the West is deep, but really, how many teams in the West have the star power to really give the Lakers a fit?
Not
in the
many.
playoffs?
No. Yeah, that's it. The Suns, I would think. But even then, I think the Lakers are a better team.
And LeBron is at the stage of his career. Anthony Davis is good enough.
You're saying he's at the stage where he can kind of sit back and like he doesn't have to play as many minutes for longevity and durability.
And I think that's part of the reason why they got Westbrook, because they know he goes 100% in the regular season.
Oh, yeah, goodness gracious. You want to talk about aggressive inside scoring and aggressive drive to the basket. There's nobody that does it better than Russell Westbrook.
By him doing that means LeBron doesn't have to. I would like to see LeBron be used as a post-up player a little bit more often, high post with he and Anthony Davis. I think that would be a nice addition to the game to get some stress off of those legs, always be in point, have Westbrook give it into him in the post and let LeBron make some decisions at the elbow. I think that would be helpful for his career and his longevity.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he's going to have as big of a role this year, and obviously, or at least in the regular season. And with Westbrook on the team, you're taking away a couple of rebounds from LeBron's stats.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
For sure. Unless you're just taking them all away from Anthony Davis, and he averages.
I mean, he is going to affect stats. Yes, I get that because I mean, Westbrook is a triple-double machine,
right?
And I don't know if that's going to stop when he joins the Lakers, or if he's still going to be on the hunt for 10 plus, 10 plus, 10 plus every single night. And then my center is Embiid, who, like, we just agree to disagree. I think is better. There's not much. I mean, there's not much else to say. He's a better defender, and sure, his durability. And I don't think he's as good a playmaker, but I think they're both just as good as scorers. And I just like Embiid's his size and aggressiveness more than I would say. Jokic is a little more of a pass first, a little more passive than Embiid, and I just prefer that.
Enough.
I just prefer. You agree with me on that? I just kind of prefer that style of Embiid to Jokic. But Jokic probably like I have Embiid in my first, but if we're being honest, the NBA I think kind of favors Jokic a little bit. So I think he'll probably end up in the first and Embiid with the second. But that's just where I'd like to see Embiid is in the first. I mean, he was poised to win MVP if the injuries hadn't. He probably would have won it over Jokic at the start, like the way he was going. You don't think so?
I don't think so. Nuggets dealt with a lot of injuries, and they still went and they played really well without Jamal Murray, and that was all thanks to Nikola.
Yeah,
Jokic.
that's just the Nuggets seem to just be a really solid team
built
all around. When you lose
built
pieces,
around the top player in the league.
I mean, yeah. So I mean,
exactly.
Like for all I know, Jokic could win MVP again.
Yeah. So I think that's that. We got
I think that covers it. Yeah.
Our 3 All-NBA teams. Let us know in the comments who you think is more accurate. And at the end of the year, we'll come back, review.
Don't feel bad if you say Nathan, because you know my list is better.
I
agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. I think I did pretty well on this, but
I don't think there was any picks that were bad, except for you thinking my CP3 pick was really bad. But other than that,
time.
I don't know how I feel about your Bam Adebayo pick, but like after last season, but he is really impressive of player. So
Right.
Very versatile player.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Debate Mates. We'll be back with some more fun videos in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.